As mortgage rates have continued to go up, a lot of homeowners are trying to access that newfound equity in their house without losing that all-time low, juicy interest rate that a lot of us got in 2020 and 2021. So it's no surprise why HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, have been all the rage the last couple of years. But should you use a HELOC to buy a long-term rental property? Should you use it as a down payment on a long-term rental property? Well, I would say yes, as long as you do this one very crucial thing, this very crucial part, and you're not going to want to miss this. Let's get to it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you didn't already know, my name is Jay Costa. I'm a real estate agent, builder, investor here in Northern New Jersey. And if you watch this video, watch the whole thing. And if you get value after watching, please smash that like button down below and also consider subscribing. We are building a tight-knit community here of like-minded individuals looking to build wealth in real estate. So would love to start a conversation with you down in the comment section down below. I also have some news for you. I do have a Discord server available now. If you want to start conversations there, I will put a link in the description box down below as well. But in this video, I'm going to go over one of the most popular questions that I get from you guys, whether it's in the comment section or through my website, through email, and that is, should you use your HELOC to buy a long-term rental property? And in this video, that's what I'm going to cover. I'm going to give you the one way that I would recommend using your HELOC to buy a rental property, and only do it this way. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I'm going to share with you how to use your HELOC to acquire that property, as well as go over the last step that is essential in order to protect you and your family's home that you're putting on the line when using that home equity line of credit. So first, if you don't already know, what is a HELOC? Well, HELOC stands for home equity line of credit, and it's basically a revolving credit line similar to a credit card based on the value or the equity that you have in your home. Now, what is the equity that you have in your home? Well, very simply put, it's the current value of the property minus what you owe on the property, and that is the equity that you have in your home. So how can you use a HELOC to buy a rental property? Now, keep in mind, we're not talking about short-term fix and flips here. We're only talking about long-term rental properties in this video, so keep that in mind. So the first way to use a HELOC to buy and acquire a rental property is using it to buy the property outright. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on your market and how much you have of equity in your HELOC. Most people don't have enough to buy a full property outright. And that brings us to the second way to acquire a rental property or a property in general with your HELOC, and that is using it as a down payment on a rental property. Now, most lenders do still allow this, but you may want to check with your lender first to make sure that they do, because some rules and regulations in regards to that have changed in the last year or so. And lastly, you could use your HELOC to rehab this rental property that you buy through other means. Now, all three of these methods are acceptable as long as you do one thing at the end of it, and that is a cash-out refinance. You may have said to yourself or figured a cash-out refinance is totally dead with mortgage rates this high, but it is not, and I'm going to explain why. So why would you need to use a cash-out refinance at the end of acquiring a property to long-term rent out? Because you may say, hey, Jay, why would I do a cash-out refi at the end? It's just another closing where I have to pay more closing costs. Why not just avoid it and keep that balance on the HELOC? The first reason is that it breaks my first rule for HELOC investing, and that is that a HELOC must be short-term. The reason for this is because HELOCs were not made to be long-term loan products. They're essentially, they have a lot of pros to them, of course. They have flexibility. You only pay interest only for the first 10 years. You only pay interest on the balance that you owe, not the full amount. There's a lot of positives to a HELOC and flexibility to a HELOC, which is why we're using it to acquire a new property. But the negatives to that are that they do have adjustable or variable interest rates that can and will change with the market. And this brings me to my second HELOC investing strategy, and that is when you use your HELOC, you must have a clear exit strategy. The reason for this is fairly similar. You don't want to hold a balance on that HELOC because the rate is adjustable and variable. It can and will change. Also, you need to realize that HELOC lenders can call back the full HELOC balance to be paid right away at any time. So you need to be aware of that. You need to realize that anytime that you do carry a large balance on the HELOC, if you don't have like a legitimate way to pay it back, you could be caught with your pants down once the shit hits the fan. So you should definitely not be using a HELOC to like buy a rental property and holding that balance just with the plan of paying it back when you can. That's going to lead to financial ruin, and you're putting your house that you and your family live in on the line, and with a lot of risk involved in that. So be careful. So what should your plan be? Well, first, if you have the money for like a standard down payment on a conventional mortgage, your 20% or whatever, just do that. Do that in a normal way. Use your HELOC to rehab and renovate the property. You'll be much better off. It's a much safer option, and that's just what I would recommend. Then once you're done rehabbing the property and you get a new tenant in there, go get a cash-out refinance, use that cash to pay off the HELOC, and you're good to go. You'll have a newly renovated and rehabbed rental property that has a great paying tenant in place, and you won't have any of a HELOC balance to cover, and you'll be able to use that HELOC on the next project. But what if you don't have the money for that standard conventional mortgage down payment, which is maybe the reason why you're watching this video? Well, first things first, go find a property that needs work. The property needs to be able to take work and allow you to add value to the property by rehabbing and renovating it. This is what's called forced appreciation. Next, use your HELOC to either buy it outright if you have enough and the property is cheap enough, or more likely or more commonly, use the HELOC balance as a down payment on a more standard sort of loan. Most lenders do allow this, as I said, especially on investment properties, but check with yours to make sure. Once you buy the property, rehab and renovate the property as you see fit, and get a good quality tenant in place. Since the property's fully rehabbed and renovated and all new, you shouldn't have much trouble finding a great tenant. Once you have a great and well-paying tenant in place, go to your lender and go apply for a standard cash-out refinance mortgage. The lender is going to send an appraiser out to your property, and they will value your property higher than what you bought it for, and hopefully higher than what you are all in for. So let's say you bought the property for $500,000, you put $100,000 into it, so you're $600,000 in, and the appraiser comes back and says your property is worth $700,000. That means during the cash out refinance closing, the equity that's available there is $100,000, and hypothetically you'll get $100,000 back at closing, but minus fees and closing costs and things like that. I obviously just made up those numbers off the top of my head, but you need to know your numbers and make sure before you go into this project, realize how much you're going to be about getting back at closing, and make sure that that's enough to pay off most or all of that HELOC balance that you have. And now, congratulations, you will have a brand new renovated rental property that you have a long-term fixed rate mortgage on with a great quality and paying tenant in place. And you paid off that HELOC balance and you're able to do it again. And as time goes on, you could use that HELOC balance and then also get another HELOC on that new investment property as the value appreciates. Now, why should you always use a cash out refi? Why not just hold that HELOC balance long term and pay it off as you see fit? Well, there are two problems with this as far as I can tell. Number one, you're basically getting rid of the biggest advantage that long-term rental real estate investing has, and that is the long-term fixed rate mortgage. The long-term fixed rate mortgage is responsible for more millionaires than any other thing in this country. And the reason for that is because it locks in your payment in perpetuity, or at least until the loan is paid off. So you know exactly what your payment's going to be every single month, while the rental income goes up over time and the property value goes up over time. If you're holding a HELOC balance instead of that long-term mortgage, you're putting yourself and your family's home in way more risk than what is needed, because the interest rate can and will change. So you're not going to know what your payment's going to be in 10 years after your draw period is up, and when you have to start paying both interest and principal. What if you can't afford that payment? Also, the second reason is that it's very important to know and realize that with HELOCs, they're not like conventional mortgages, a lender with a HELOC can call back that balance at any time for any reason. So if they call back that balance and you don't have the cash to pay for it, they're going to take the house. And when I say house, I mean your house, not even the investment property. And to make it even worse, usually those situations come up under stressed economic times. Like back in 2008 was the last time that this happened on a mass scale. So chances are that if and when that happens and they call back the HELOC balance, if you don't have that money or cash to pay for it that's liquid, you're at the very least going to have to sell that investment property maybe at a loss because property values may be down. So it may not be as easy to go get a cash out refi as it is right now. Now, this is basically the very popular real estate investing strategy called the BRRRR method. And that stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. We're just using the HELOC for the down payment in order to kind of kickstart your real estate investing journey and allow you to start and build wealth in real estate in a quicker and easier than you would have otherwise. So the BRRRR method is not dead. The cash out refinance is not dead. And you could still use these strategies to build real estate wealth here right now in 2024 and beyond. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, you will love all of my other HELOC videos. I'll put a link in the description to the playlist as well as up here in the corner. So definitely recommend checking those out if you're just getting started learning about HELOCs and learning how to use them to build wealth. And drop a comment in the comment section down below and let me know your thoughts about what I'm saying that you need to do, that you have to use that cash out refi. You need a clear exit strategy in place when using your HELOC balance in order to buy a long-term rental properties. There are other ways to use your HELOC in real estate investing. Like I said before, you could use it on short-term fix and flip projects. You could use it on funding new construction projects. But this video was about buy and hold long-term rental properties. And let me know if I'm too conservative. A lot of people say that I'm too conservative and they say, hey, why would I need the HELOC if I could just use money otherwise for the down payment? I personally, everyone has different risk tolerances, right? So me personally, I have a family that lives in this house, okay, where I am now. I would never risk the house that my family lives in and calls home in order to make a buck if I don't have, whatever I'm borrowing off of my HELOC in some other asset class that's somewhat liquid that I can grab and pay off in a worst case scenario. That's just me. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section down below, and I will see you next time. Take care.